So when I started learning about real estate, one of the authors who I listened to was a guy called Dr. Dolf DeRoos. And one concept that really stuck in my mind, even until today, was that if you look at the Forbes 400 list, some of those people made their money from real estate. But here's the thing, majority of those people hold their money in real estate, as in they've diversified their portfolio to the point that a large portion of their wealth is in real estate. So what does that mean for you? So if you make money from businesses and other ventures, it's worthwhile going down the real estate path, right? And putting your money there. But what happens if you want to make money using real estate? There's so many ways, like there's countless ways that you can actually go down different rabbit holes. And I just wanted to discuss this with you in today's video. Hi, my name is Opie. I talk about health, wealth, and happiness. So obviously today's going to be about wealth. I wanted to go through just some of the books and material that I've got in real estate. I thought this might be the best way, just rather than me showing you a slide or just talking abstractly. If I can just show you some of the books, and that way you will get an idea of what some of these strategies are. And again, I haven't not implemented all of them. I've implemented only a handful of things, but there's so many things that you can sort of go down. But at least if you know what these are, you'll have an idea of, okay, maybe it's worthwhile investigating further. So let's get into it. Let's just start from this side and work our way back. So this is a guy called Konrad Bobilak, right? He's a famous real estate investor in Melbourne, bought 50 plus properties in his own name last time I saw him speak, probably on 100 plus now. But one of the, a couple of the lessons that I've learned from him is in terms of real estate itself, he basically said, hey, look, don't worry about paying off the principal amount. Okay, this is just a side topic, but I thought it's worthwhile learning. He goes, imagine if your mom and dad or your grandparents bought a property in 1970 and they paid $6,000 for it. They didn't pay any of the capital at all. They didn't pay any of the principal, sorry. All they did was just chip away at the interest. And, whatever it is that you're watching this today, they give you this property and go, look, son, daughter, here's a property. Unfortunately, it's got the full mortgage on it, but the house is yours. Would you really care if it's got a $6,000 loan on it? No. But it's hard for us to imagine today where properties are hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. It's hard for us to sort of take that same ratios into our head and apply this over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But according to at least Konrad, that's what'll happen. The other advice that he goes, he's said that it's actually stuck with me is that don't worry about paying the principal again. And here's why. Here's what he says. He goes, don't worry about this because he goes, make sure you get a large life insurance policy. This is not financial advice. This is what he's just said. Maybe try this. Because get yourself a large enough life insurance policy where it covers you enough to pay out all your liabilities. Therefore, we're all going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone's going to die one day. When you do pass on, the life insurance gets paid out. All your properties in turn will be paid off. And then your beneficiaries, your dependents, will get all of those properties unencumbered. Does that make sense? That's his thinking behind it. It's fair enough. I mean, I can't fault it. I'm trying to see if there's any drawbacks to this. Not really. I mean, yeah, that's his advice. A pretty good guy. So that's Konrad's advice. This dude, oh my goodness, complete opposite, right? He is a real estate guy. He loves real estate, but he wants you to primarily use cash to buy it. Not your principal home of residence. He said, don't get a maximum of a 30-year loan or a 25-year loan or 20-year loan. He goes, try and get a 15-year loan and have at least a 20% deposit. In Australia, 20% deposit is fine because that's what you have to do anyway, unless you're a first home buyer. There's a special going on at the moment where you can only get, do 5% and the banks or the government covers the lender's mortgage insurance. But that tactic, I don't know if it's going to be applicable in other parts of the world. 15-year loan, I mean, it's almost unheard of in Australia. Let's keep going. This is the barefoot investor, so that's sort of basic stuff. This isn't real estate. Oh, this one's so when we're talking about real estate, fundamentally there's either residential or commercial. The guy who I opened the quote with, Dr. Dolf DeRoos, he is a master when it comes to real estate. And this book I read ages ago. Amazing book, but yeah, so there's two parts that you can go after. So one of the ways that this is important when it comes to thinking about real estate is residential real estate, especially in Victoria. You have to ask yourself if you're okay with dealing with the aggravation for slightly higher returns. That's what you have to ask. Can you be bothered going to tribunals and kicking people out and doing all of that stuff? Whereas with commercial property, you're not really dealing with people. What you're dealing with is contracts. There's a big difference. So if you can afford to get into a commercial property earlier on, it might be the better way to go. I'll keep going because I don't want to sort of dwell on it. Yeah, probably. I've had that for a while. I haven't read it though. This is property development. Obviously, development is an amazing way to make money, get into the market, and all of that stuff. And in fact, if you want to learn a bit more, I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Dominic Bagnardo on the Victory Line podcast. Check that out. And he's an architect turned property developer, and might be a way to do it, right? Get into the things. So she's a famous investor in Victoria. Talks about buying properties. I can't remember what her strategies. I'm trying to see. She has ideas on tactics or strategies on applying. Yeah, I can't remember what the specific strategies, to be honest with her. I'll keep going on some of the stuff. So this is a real estate one. Sorry, a renovation one. So if you're thinking about buying a property, doing a renovation on it and flipping it, a renovation might be a good idea. So either you can do it yourself or you can hire contractors, tradies, and manage it yourself. Or the third option is you hire a builder and they hire all the subcontractors for you. 3 ways of doing it. You doing it, you managing the tradies, or you hire like a manager to manage that entire process. Money can be made, so there's another option. I'll keep going. Wow, this dude. So I've spent a pretty penny discussing or learning Rick Horton stuff, and he basically talks about how to buy a house for $1, and this is basically buying it with options and rent to own and those sort of strategies. Great strategy. It can be done. I haven't personally done it. In fact, there's a whole course here that I bought, and it is worthwhile. I just haven't had the time to implement it. I've implemented other things. Okay, so as I said, you can learn about these things. You can invest money, but just making sure. I mean, it's good to learn, right? I've learned, but whether you execute it and is another thing. Okay, I'll keep going because otherwise we're going to be here. So this is another one from Dolf DeRoos, and this title is 52 Homes in 52 Weeks. And how we did it is with options. I'll keep going. So this is Steve McKnight's basically on the mindset of investing and learning. Another one by commercial real estate. Helen Tarrant, a Asian immigrant who basically got into commercial real estate. Really good person in terms of what I can tell from her videos, and the book is great too. Commercial Property Again. Jones on Property. So this dude was a guy in New Zealand, bought properties. Wow, this book is probably, it's from a library, but I bought it legitimately. Published in 1977, but good advice in here. Okay, I'm not going to go through the rest because I think we've got duplicates. So this is another one by Steve Pallas, Commercial Real Estate again. This one's Renovating for Profit. Oh, this one's actually a good one. Patrick Bright. Remember I said you've got the option of buying it, doing a reno, flipping it, or keeping it, or renting it out. Possible option here. So, and the last one I wanted to tell you was this guy runs a whole bunch of seminars, and this book itself goes through several ways you can actually get into real estate. For example, Renovating for Profit, wealth building property strategies, property development, cash flow, asset protection, tax minimization. So there's all, it's like a property soup, if you want to call it that. I think that's it. And this is a whole bunch of courses that I got. But yeah, one of my favorite guys, as I keep saying, is Dr. Dolf, DeRoos' stuff. Great guy. In terms of the way he explains some of these concepts is very easy to understand. So some of the concepts that aren't covered here, I'll just rattle them off, right? Once you buy a property, depending on the size of the land, you can do a subdivision, which is basically you're dividing it into 1, 2, 3, whatever lots, and you can sell it as separate titles. What else can you do? You can do a rezoning. So once you buy a property, if it's able to be rezoned as, say, a commercial building or a residential building, the value changes depending on that. You can add a granny flat onto it, meaning you end up having the main house and you've got a flat at the back, which is, it's often called a grandmother's bungalow or a granny flat in Victoria. So now you've got 2 streams of income. Remember, one of the ideas of buying real estate is you want to have multiple doors. So this is a concept very famous in America, where the number of doors meaning the amount of rental income from each property makes a difference. And I know from personal experience, this is a game changer. Absolute game changer. So the number of doors you have, you are effectively minimizing the risk. Minimizing the risk because that way you're not counting on one person paying the rent for you. You've got several people. If you can do that, you as an investor are in a good position. As I said, I'm speaking from personal experience. So try your best to think of creative ways to increase the number of doors on a particular property. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Sorry, I've already shown you this. What other strategies are there? We've already talked about development stuff. Dominic talks about that. He sees a block of land, and where other developers can see 2 or 3 going on there, he's thinking 6 or 7, and then because he thinks differently, and he goes to council and puts a proposition into why he can get 6 or 7. If he can put 6 or 7, he can afford to pay upfront more for that block of land than anyone else. That's how he does it. What else is there? There's so many. I mean, the basic ones are buying and holding. So you're buying it, making sure you put good tenants in there, and you're holding it for the long term. Buying and holding strategy is, as I said, if you go through the Forbes 400 list, a large portion of those investors, and we're talking about billionaires here, they are holding a large portion of their wealth in real estate because it's not a fly-by-the-night kind of enterprise. They generally do hold value unless you go through a massive recession or a depression, which can happen. Obviously, that's why there is a risk element, but generally speaking, it's a good holder of wealth. I think I've given you a few ideas. Research as many real estate investing options as you can, and then work out what works for you, your personality, your risk profile, and the capital that you have, and the amount of legwork that you want to do. So there's like 5 things I mentioned there. And then that way you can work out, okay, based on these, I should be able to just go down this path. Okay, hope that makes sense. Thank you very much for listening. It's all about commercial real estate. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.